Welcome to room 13.
The phone rang at 3:13 a.m., a shrill cry slicing through the silence of my apartment. I fumbled in the dark, heart pounding, the screen glowing with an unknown number. No one calls at this hour. No one good. I let it ring out, the sound fading into the hum of the refrigerator. When it stopped, the silence felt heavier, like the air had thickened. I checked the call log. No number. Just a blank entry, time-stamped 3:13 a.m. I lay back down, but sleep wouldn't come. My brother Ethan's face flickered in my mind, his crooked smile, the way his eyes crinkled when he laughed. He'd been gone 10 years, killed in a car accident at 19. I was 16 then, too young to process it, too old to forget. The grief had carved a hollow space in me, one I'd learned to navigate around. But that night, the hollow felt alive, pulsing with... The phone rang again the next night, 3:13 a.m. Same blank entry. This time, I answered. "Hello." My voice cracked, barely a whisper. Static hissed through the line, a low, crackling hum like distant waves. I waited, breath caught in my throat. Then faintly, a whisper. "Lila." My name, stretched and warped, like it was spoken underwater. I froze. The voice was unmistakable. Ethan's, soft and boyish, the way it was before the accident. The line went dead. I didn't sleep. The next morning I found a voicemail. No notification, no missed call. Just there in my inbox, time-stamped 3:13 a.m. My hands shook as I pressed play. Static roared, loud enough to make me wince. Then his voice again, clearer this time. "Lila, why don't you answer? I'm waiting." A pause, then a sound like a sob, or maybe laughter. The message cut off. I played it again. And again. Each time the static seemed to shift, forming shapes in my mind. Faces, hands, eyes. Ethan's voice never changed, but the words felt heavier, like they were sinking into me. I deleted the voicemail, but my phone vibrated an hour later. It was back. Same timestamp, same words. I called Mom that afternoon. "Do you ever hear from Ethan?" I asked, hating how small my voice sounded. She laughed, sharp and brittle. "Lila, don't start. He's gone. You know that." But her voice cracked on "gone," and she hung up too quickly. That night at 3:13 a.m., the phone rang again. I answered before the first ring ended. "Ethan?" I whispered. "Lila," he said, his voice so close it felt like he was in the room. "You forgot the promise." Static surged, swallowing his words. The call dropped. Promise? We'd made 100 promises as kids. Stupid things like hiding his comic books or covering for him when he snuck out. But nothing specific came to mind. I tore through old journals, desperate for a clue. In one, I found a scrawled note in Ethan's handwriting. "Promise you'll always find me." I'd written it off as a game back then. Now it felt like a threat. The calls kept coming, every night at 3:13 a.m. Sometimes it was just static, a low hum that vibrated in my bones. Other times Ethan spoke. "You're not looking hard enough, Lila," he'd say, or, "I'm closer than you think." Once he said, "Check the mirror," and I avoided every reflective surface for days. But I couldn't avoid the photos. Ethan and I used to take Polaroids, sticking them in a shoebox under my bed. I pulled it out one night, hands trembling. The first photo was us at the lake, his arm around me, both of us grinning. But something was wrong. His face was blurred, like someone had smudged it with their thumb. I flipped to the next one. Same thing. In every photo, Ethan's face was dissolving, replaced by a pale, stretched distortion. I slammed the box shut, my chest tight. The next night, he said, "You saw the pictures, didn't you?" His voice was gleeful, like he'd caught me cheating at a game. "They're changing because you're forgetting me." "I'm not forgetting you," I screamed into the phone. The static laughed back. I started noticing other things. My apartment felt wrong. Corners seemed sharper, shadows too long. The hum from the calls lingered even during the day, like a pulse in the walls. I stopped sleeping, my eyes burning from staring at the ceiling, waiting for 3:13 a.m. I drove to Mom's house that weekend, desperate for answers. She looked older than I remembered, her eyes sunken, her hands twitching as she poured coffee. "You're not sleeping," she said, not a question. "Mom, it's Ethan. He's calling me." The words spilled out before I could stop them. Her cup shattered on the floor. Coffee spread like blood. "Don't say that," she hissed. "He's dead, Lila. Dead." But her eyes darted to the hallway, to the door leading to the basement. She'd always kept it locked after Ethan's accident, said it was too painful to go down there. His old room was down there, untouched. "Mom, what aren't you telling me?" I pressed. She shook her head, lips trembling. "You don't understand. You can't." She grabbed my arm, her grip bruising. "Stop answering the phone." That night, back at my apartment, the call came again. "Mom's lying," Ethan whispered. "She knows where I am." The static surged, and I swear I heard footsteps behind his voice, slow and deliberate, like someone pacing in a small room. I went back to Mom's the next day. She wasn't home, but I still had my key. The house was too quiet, the air thick with dust and memory. The basement door loomed at the end of the hallway, its lock rusted but intact. I found a crowbar in the garage and pried it open, the wood splintering like a scream. The stairs creaked under my weight. The air grew colder, heavier, as I descended. Ethan's room was exactly as he'd left it. Posters curling at the edges, comic books stacked on his desk. But the mirror above his dresser was cracked, a spiderweb of fractures radiating from the center. I stepped closer, my reflection distorted, my face stretched and pale. The hum grew louder, vibrating in my chest, my teeth. I touched the glass and it was warm, pulsing like a heartbeat. "Lila," Ethan's voice whispered, not from the phone but from the mirror. I stumbled back, my breath fogging the air. The room seemed to tilt, the walls bending inward. I ran upstairs, slamming the door behind me. That night, the call came at 3:13 a.m. "You were so close," Ethan said, his voice low and urgent. "Why did you run?" The static was gone now, replaced by a sound like breathing, slow and deliberate. "Check your phone," he said. I opened my camera roll. There was a new photo, one I hadn't taken. It was me, standing in the basement, staring into the cracked mirror. But in the reflection, Ethan stood behind me, his face blurred, his hand on my shoulder. I dropped the phone. It rang again. I didn't want to answer. Every fiber of me screamed to ignore it, to throw the phone out the window, to run. But my hand moved on its own, pressing the phone to my ear. "Lila," Ethan said, his voice so clear it was like he was sitting next to me. "I never left. You did. The line went dead." The room was silent, but the air felt wrong, too heavy, too close. Then I heard it. A creak from the hallway, slow footsteps approaching my bedroom door. My heart stopped. The phone buzzed in my hand, screen black, but his voice came through soft and close. "I'm home, Lila." The door creaked open. The hum filled the room, loud enough to drown out my scream. I turned, but there was no one there. Just the mirror on my wall, its surface rippling like water. My reflection stared back, but it wasn't me. It was Ethan, his face clear now, his eyes empty and black. He smiled and the hum became a voice. His voice, my voice, ours, blending together. "You promised you'd always find me," he said, stepping out of the glass. The phone slipped from my hand, shattering on the floor. The conversation hadn't ended. It never would.